welcome to the D3D4 Football Podcast with me, your host, James Richards. Hello everyone, welcome to another D3D4 Football Podcast. It is November now, the 3rd of November as we record this, but November football is back for another season. I love this time of year. I think this is probably my favourite month. You've got the trees changing colour, the weather hopefully staying at crisp and drier than it was yesterday for a little bit longer, and the dark nights swirling in, so when your football finishes, you're walking home away from a floodlit stadium. It's something really special about this time of year. Of course, then heading into that sort of festive period, which everyone really enjoys, or most of us do, unless your name is Scrooge, traditionally. I officially hate the M6, just so everyone...
Doesn't everyone?
Oh, terrible motorway, like literally the worst motorway ever. Going up to Crewe, they'd closed 2 lanes out of 3, and I swear at one point they closed all of them because we sat in standstill traffic, I think, for a good hour. It was not fun at all. Terrible. Just a terrible motorway. And they're making it a smart motorway apparently. It's the dumbest motorway I've ever been on, so...
They do that with the M62, which I get on every weekend to go and watch Oldham, and it's wonderfully fun.
Oh, God, yeah. Really.
Been doing it for 3 years.
I tell you what, I feel sorry for anyone who commutes on the M6 on a regular basis. It's worth moving house just to avoid it, I think, I'd say. But anyway, football, there was loads of it being played. We've had a manager dismissed already, which is, for our podcast that we record on Sunday, we usually miss all that juicy news because they usually announce it on Monday. But MK Dons kindly decided not to beat around the bush and got rid of Paul Tisdale straight after pretty much the final whistle yesterday, following their 3-1 defeat against Tranmere. We'll have a chat about that. We'll look up all the other results that came through and talk, of course, about El Glousico, the A500 derby, chat about Oldham's comeback. Looked for all the world that game had escaped the Latics, but they did get back into it. Plus, chatting a roundup of all the other action this weekend, starting, as always, in League One.
League One.
And I think we started with Bolton last week, but bugger it. Let's do it again, because a 2-1 win over Fleetwood. This is a fantastic Fleetwood team who, I'm not sure where they were before start play. They're 5th in the table now. But really good pressing from Chris O'Grady.
He's past it.
He's past it, can't run, legs are gone, not good.
Yeah, too old.
Too old, but wonderful closing down of the Fleetwood back line, pressured them into a mistake, got the goal. Murphy, another old boy, plenty of experience, lovely finish, really waited for the keeper to commit himself before making it 2. Obviously, Fleetwood, you're never going to, I would argue, very unlikely in Bolton's situation to keep a clean sheet against a team like Fleetwood who are very clinical. But what a result, Chris.
Absolutely superb. It must be bizarre being a Bolton fan, I think. They're going into every game underdogs, complete underdogs, and that must be quite relaxing, I think, for the Bolton players almost. The fans are getting behind the team because they're relieved to have their team, and it's starting to pay dividends now. They've got a manager who, time and time again has instilled confidence in his players at a number of clubs. It's brilliant. It's brilliant to see.
It is indeed, and they're on -2 points now, which means they are very much on the coattails of Southend United, who lost again yesterday at Sunderland. So Sol Campbell, bit of a baptism of fire, Chris, for Sol, because he's got Ipswich in the first game, and then a trip to Sunderland for the next game. But 1-0, that's not too shabby a scoreline when you've been conceding as many goals as Southend.
Yeah, I think it's showing a little bit of an upturn, I guess. I mean, Sunderland's a difficult place to go. They're obviously under new management, so they're trying to, up their performances at the Stadium of Light. So for Southend to go there, I think they showed a little bit more defensive rigidity, and that can only be a good thing. That's what they've been really struggling with all season. So it's maybe an upturn, hopefully, but it's clear that Sol Campbell has a really big task on his hands.
Huge task. I mean, to think that they are so close to being caught up by a Bolton side that...
Well, I was looking at this earlier. I mean, Bolton have taken more points this season.
Yeah, they will have. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, technically, Southend, you should be bottom for just sheer rubbish defending. I mean, they've conceded 44 goals now.
Is that the most in English football?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise. I have to say, they remind me of the Oxford 2000-2001 side. I think we conceded over 100 goals that season. At the moment, I think Southend are on target for like 120 goals conceded.
Because at this rate, they'll have conceded 100 by Christmas.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're really in poor form. But that's 2 home wins for Phil Parkinson. So he's done at least half the job right. It's now about getting on the road and getting some results and I think some consistency. But again, early days in his reign.
I think he needs to up his performances a little bit because I think they're getting a little bit frustrated with the quality of football. But he's clearly got them winning, and that's what really matters.
It's surely got to take a little bit of time. Jack Ross couldn't get this lot playing, and he played a sort of dour style of football, I guess. Phil Parkinson's got to be given time to implement his ideas. It's not going to take a couple of weeks. It's going to take, you'd think, a few months to get his style and his ideas across, and maybe for him even to know his best team and his best tactics with those players. So I think as long as he keeps getting some results, and I'd expect him to do a bit better, like I said, on the road in the next couple of games, then just keep themselves in touch with the top 2 going through this sort of transition period. I think would be an ideal thing to do. Rotherham, I like the Millers on the road anyway. I think you have to give them a huge amount of credit for the way they went to Ipswich and now to Gillingham. I mean, Gillingham, Conor Ogilvie, probably his worst game of the season, uncharacteristically bad. I mean, if you saw the highlights, real mix-up for one of the goals. And
some impressive defending. Yeah,
very impressive defending. I'd say, I don't want to criticise Gillingham too much, because actually in the numbers, I think there's some positives there, in terms of the number of chances they create, the number of shots per game they have, the number of touches in the box they have in the opposition area. These are all encouraging numbers. It would suggest that there's more to come from them, but this was a really horrendous day at the office. I think Matt from Gills in the Blood tweeted out that it's probably on par, if not worse, than the game they had at Oxford, where they were really bad. But they've got some games coming up which you look in the next 5 matches. They play MK Dons at home, AFC Wimbledon away, Lincoln at home. Obviously, going up to Fleetwood, that's always a difficult trip. Sunderland do come down to the Stadium of Light on December the 7th. So, but for the Millers, that's really impressive because, going on the road, winning 3-0, keeping a clean sheet, bouncing back from a disappointing home performance against Wycombe. I think they're doing all right, and they've got like 4 wins in the last 6, a little bit better, up into sort of those echelons of the playoffs, nearly there, not quite, but they'll take a lot of heart from that. And I think Matt Crooks' performances deserve credit. He's getting a nice relationship with Smith up front, and that is pretty important, I think. Chris, Blackpool. Fans were a bit disgruntled with the style of football. They can't complain too much after a 4-3 win over a free-scoring Peterborough side.
What a game!
Quality game.
I was watching the highlights back, and it's absolutely superb. It's the sort of football everyone loves to look and everyone loves to see. Nan Dullet, if that's pronounced correctly, was absolutely superb. He just looked to be running the show completely.
Yeah, he had a good game. Mo Isa's goal, a thing of beauty. I mean, I love goals when they're scored like that. Really deft chip over the goalkeeper, sort of curling into the corner. Not quite sure how you do that technically, but he had a fantastic
I'll teach you
game.
sometime.
Oh yeah, I'll look forward to that. Yeah. I hear nutmegging people, and you're a tricky winger now, aren't you?
Well, I went back into net this week and kept a clean sheet, so I'm a real utility player.
Yeah, you need a few of them in football. Left wingers who can also play in goal.
Yeah, exactly.
2 own goals in this game, has to be said. So Peterborough very generous with their
nice
defending.
to give another team a chance.
Yeah, definitely. Funny though, isn't it, that it's Ivan Toney, Mo Issa, and Marcus Maddison all on the score sheet again. Ridiculous numbers these guys.
Well, at least not only reliant on one player.
Yeah, well, indeed. You do feel with Peterborough, if they maybe have one of those guys out, they've still got enough in that team. They've got Reed, who I like, Knight, who I think has been an excellent player, and of course Boyd, who part of that team that was so successful under Darren Ferguson a few years back. But But well done to Blackpool. Thoroughly, if I can get that word out, thoroughly entertaining game at Bloomfield Road. And maybe the fans deserve that because they've been coming back in numbers and against a top side like Peterborough, who've been going very strong, still third in the table. Great result. And it puts Blackpool within a point of those top 6 now. So it's getting really nice and congested at the top. I always like it when it's a bit free, a bit close up there. Wycombe are top of the table. Obviously, Ipswich were to be playing Bury this week in that game, not going ahead. So that gave Wycombe a chance to go 3 points clear, which they took in a 1-0 win against Shrewsbury. And I have to say, Chris, are Wycombe going to be able to stay the course? Because it's 16 games now, 9 wins, only 1 defeat. I always question whether they keep it going, but it's very promising.
Well, it's something we sort of picked up on last season at times. They can be very difficult to beat, if nothing else. They play a very gritty style of football, and it's working for them. They're going into games with real plans, executing them successfully, holding out on games. I don't think there's any reason that they can't be looking towards the playoffs come the end of the season. I think automatic positions might be a little bit over the top perhaps, but I think they absolutely can be right in the promotion mix.
They've got some really exciting players, I have to say. They've got Aarons, who played sort of on the left side of the front three, cash kit on the right, with Akinfenwa in the middle. So, Akinfenwa perhaps not as mobile as he once was, but he will win a lot of knockdowns. And with those two...
You don't tackle him, do you?
No, some say, was it Rochwan Williams that? Because he tried to start a fight with him in the corner flag, but handbags, which was quite funny.
He's a brave man.
Yeah, I was thinking that. It was quite amusing. It was a bit of... It could have kicked off, but it didn't really. It was a lot of sort of stamping of feet and, handbags, I call it, but really quite brave. He got sent. I think the ref sent him off to protect him from retribution, personally. But again, though, slightly different formation it looked like from Shrewsbury, with like a 3 at the back and 3 up front. Worley and Edwards playing off Cummings, which is, I think, quite promising.
It's not a formation you see that much these days, a 3-4-3.
No, I mean, I think it's kind of a 5, isn't it, really, with Love and Goldborn sort of coming back when they need to. But it's quite a fluid formation. I did read some tactical analysis about their game against Sunderland, which did say that they can sort of flick between formations when in and out of possession. If the Shrews can do that well, then they'll be very flexible. And going to Wycombe and not getting a result is not a surprise, because Wycombe are like the best team at home in this division by I think some way. So, but they do need to be a bit more creative. I think sometimes they sit back a little bit too much. They have players who are capable of creating chances and opportunities, and I think Shrewsbury fans will be a little bit frustrated. But again, great result for Wycombe. Going really, I mean, the fact that they're top at this stage of the season deserves a massive bit of praise. Kenny Jackett's jacket will probably be being flung over his shoulders soon as he makes his way out of Fratton Park. I don't see him clinging onto his job too much longer.
You were trying hard for that pun then, weren't you?
Yeah, it didn't really work. But it didn't matter, because at the end of the day, Oxford got a 90th minute equaliser, and I'm just so chuffed, because I was keeping an eye on the game while at Crewe, and I was getting a bit, here we go, we're going to lose to Portsmouth, and I have family that support Portsmouth, so it's always it's a little bit of rivalry and family feuds that could build out of this one. But no, I was very pleased to see Taylor come in with a header right at the end to get us a point, and 1,700, nearly 1,800 Oxford fans at Fratton Park, delighted that they didn't make the trip back up to Oxfordshire with nothing, and putting more pressure on Kenny Jackett, whose teams this season seem to be unable to see out a win. Worrying stuff for Pompey. And with Nathan Jones on the market, Chris, is this, do you think, something that will be playing on the minds of the owners if there's a manager like that out there that they could bring into a club like Portsmouth?
I think it must be. There's been questions over Jackett for several weeks now. We've tried to defend him, but at the end of the day, the results aren't good enough. They're sat in 15th place with the money and the infrastructure that they've got there, the money that's been spent and the quality of players that he's got at his disposal. There is it's absolutely criminal that they're not, in the very least, in the top 10.
They do have games in hand, though, don't they? And that's what people say. If you win your games in hand, just say they won them both or whatever, so they'd have, 24 points, so they'd be, just outside the playoffs.
They'll probably be 10th or 11th, but I still think... I can't... Well, the big question is, are they going to win them? There's absolutely no guarantee of that. I don't know. I think questions do seriously need to be asked about Jacket, and if you have got someone like Nathan Jones, who was so successful in League One and League Two with Luton, the owners must be starting to really think about it.
I think they might be. I have no inside information from Fratton Park, of course, but massive frustration from a fan base disgruntled with I think more the style, than necessarily the results. The results are frustrating, but I don't think they enjoy the style of play too much. And so, watch this space. But well done, Oxford. Delighted. We don't usually do that well at Fratton Park. I can only remember a couple of wins there over the years. So that's a very good point, I think, in the end, because regardless of where they are in the table, Portsmouth have a very strong side. And
do Oxford keep this going, do you think?
It all, like I said before, to me, we'll keep it going as long as the squad is fit. Because our fringe players are playing well, but there's not a lot of depth, certainly at the back. So that will be a key factor, I think, in our success this season, if we can keep our back line fit. And Matt Taylor as well. I think he'll be a big player, because we do get goals from everywhere, but having that striker who has got a natural goal scoring instinct can make a huge difference. So keep him fit, and we'll see. I don't want to get too carried away. I've been an Oxford fan far too long to indulge in such luxuries as hope and
I feel your pain.
Yeah, indeed. But I'm enjoying it at the moment, and I'll just quietly be smug to myself for a moment or two. And,
I'm going to admit, you will never be quietly smug about Oxford.
No, you're right. I won't be. But still, I'll enjoy it nonetheless while it lasts. Bristol Rovers, they went to Rochdale, picked up a pretty gritty win in the end. They had to cling on, but that's important because they're in 9th and they've had a very good season. A couple of sort of poor results of late, losing to Bolton at home, of course. And
can we just talk about that save he made?
Yes, indeed. I mean, what a save it was, wasn't it?
Immense. Just immense. The reflexes.
Yeah, and what was it? He was at Reading, wasn't he, Yarkala? So I think.
And
Reading. If you look at the number of players, and my uncle's a Reading fan, he always says this to me. If you look at the number of players Reading sort of don't keep, but then end up being very, very good. I mean, Oxford obviously have got Rob Dickey, who's fantastic, and Tarek Fosu, who is equally fantastic. They had Jack Stacey, who's now playing, I think, for Bournemouth after a great campaign with Luton. They've got Yarkala, the goalkeeper here. I mean, there's quite a few players who've left Reading and gone on to prove that they should have been kept and probably given an opportunity. So, what a save it was. Keeps the 2 points, those extra 2 points in Bristol Rovers' back pocket, and yeah, they've done tremendously well, because we all know that Bristol Rovers don't have the infrastructure and they don't necessarily have the budget to compete with any of the top teams at this level. So it's going to take a good team spirit and a good organised squad to win matches, and that is an excellent result, because Rochdale, I'm not convinced hugely by them this season. I think no surprise that they're sort of going to struggle a little bit at times, but you go away from home in League One, it's always important to not get beat, and to get a 2-1 win is a fantastic result. Burton, a great result. Chris at Doncaster, who've been very impressive this season.
Yeah, absolutely superb win for them. It keeps them sort of pushing to that higher level in the table that they want to be. You spoke of Rochdale perhaps not doing so well this season. I think Burton might just go the other way around. They're only a place above them, but I think their season might be turning to see them quietly push on now.
I really like Burton. I think for the size of team they've done tremendously well, but they've got some technical players that you can't help but admire. People like Fraser, Templeton, Sarkic, they're all very, very good on the ball, with Boyce leading the attack, and people like, I mean, Lucas Akins, he played blooming left back. This guy's a striker. I think he's their top goal scorer in their history, but you can play left back, right back, striker. I'm sure he'll end up being like you and going in goal just to...
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's a terrific player.
Everyone needs a utility player.
Well, yeah, everybody needs a James Coppinger as well. I have to say, what a performance from Coppinger. He was unlucky not to score, setting up I think one of the goals when the keeper palmed it out and they get the break and get the goal on that one. But his through balls, his vision, his energy, and people make a lot of age, and I know James probably would want me to make a lot of it because it's just a number and it's all about individuals and how fit he is. But that he's been so good for so long is a testament to the way that he not only looks after himself, I think, but just his natural ability and his
professionalism to stay that fit.
Yeah, his love for the game as well. You can see he still loves it. Just like you get players that fall out of love with football. He's been, I think, quite blessed as well with not having any major injuries because it can stifle a career. But what a player he still is, and with players like Sheaf and Whiteman backing him up, not a great performance from Dervin Daniels. They've fluffed around with it a bit at the back, which will cost them. It will cost them if you get caught out too many times doing that. So they've got to learn from that. But overall, Darren Moore, an assessment, Chris, you think he's done better than you expected, or how's he done compared to your expectations when he was made their manager?
I think Doncaster are probably about where I thought they'd be. I think we maybe thought that they'd push on closer to the playoffs, but I think he's doing about what I expected with Doncaster. Settling well. I think they've got the infrastructure and they've got the potential to push on, I think. But so far, a steady start for him, and there's potential for them to go further.
I have to be honest, they're doing better than I thought. I thought they'd drop off a little bit given the players that they lost in the summer, but Darren Moore's done a fantastic job. Huge credit to him, and I like the way they play. Sadly, is fast becoming one of my favourite players. I think he looks very exciting prospect.
They play quite classy football, I think.
Yeah, they do. I was very surprised when Oxford beat them the other week 3-0 because, you could see that they had chances in them, and that they probably just lacked on that day a couple of key players, which would have made it a lot more uncomfortable, I think, for Oxford. But Coventry 0-0 draw with Accrington. Bit of shithousery in this game, I think.
You'll love to see it.
Yeah, it's always going to be there. Coventry red card, Biamu. Didn't really see it, to be honest, to make a judgment on whether it was
an elbow or something, yeah.
Yeah, you can't do it. Obviously, if he's done that, then that's a red card. You never know, though. He looked a bit disappointed, and I don't know if any Coventry fans want to give their say on that, because I've only seen the replays, and it's not very clear. So, but a 0-0 draw with Accrington, bit frustrating for Coventry. They had chances throughout the game to win it, but again, playing away from Coventry and sitting sixth in the table at this moment in time is a testament to what they've done this season. I think they'll probably be, one win, I think, in the last 6. They'll probably want to be getting back to winning ways sooner rather than later. But
it's such a credit to Mark Robbins. He's
top manager.
He protects his team so well from all the rubbish that's going on behind him.
Yeah, he does that so well. AFC Wimbledon, Glyn Hodges' first game in charge, 1-1 draw with Lincoln City. They'll take that. I think Lincoln are a fantastic side, but AFC Wimbledon really will have to battle to pull themselves out of danger this season. They at the
leapfrogged
moment,
MK Dons though.
They did, yeah, and let's get to that, because that might have played a part. I don't think it did. I think what played a part is the 3-1 defeat at home to a Tranmere side that have not been that good yet this season, and also 8 defeats in the last 9 with no wins in that time.
I think that's the big one.
That's pretty damning, isn't it, really?
Yeah. You struggle to get away from it, really. I mean, all credit to Tranmere. Hepburn Murphy was incredible.
Yeah.
How quick is he?
Yeah, he's lightning, isn't it? I mean, he played for Cambridge on loan last season.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever realised just quite how quick he is.
No, I've never. To be honest, I didn't think he was that great at Cambridge. I think he was getting used to the level of football and the physicality of it. Giovanni Brown rates him highly. Obviously, played with him at Cambridge, so I'm sure he's not surprised to see him put in a performance like that. But really exciting to have a player with pace like that. It's Oxford had a few over the years that maybe weren't very good at finishing off chances or even creating them. But when you've got a player with pace, regardless, it's just great, and you know that they can do stuff. And Russian Hepburn Murphy, I think he's on loan from Aston Villa.
Yeah.
I think wasn't he their youngest ever player in the Premier League era?
Possibly.
I think he was. I might be wrong. Villa fans will correct me, or maybe any fans who know this sort of history. But I think he was their youngest ever player in the top flight, and he's done a terrific job there. But let's get back to Tisdale, Chris. I think it's the correct decision. I think you look at the results. If you look at results and then the numbers suggest that things should be doing better, you can kind of say, well, hang on, things will turn. It doesn't look that way for MK Dons, does it?
No, the performances weren't there. As you say, the intent, the potential wasn't really there. Recruitment probably wasn't good enough. And they're underperforming at the end of the day. And you can only let that go on for so long. They've sunk into the relegation zone now. A change needs to happen. They've got a lot of potential at that club. There's a lot of good things that go on in terms of the infrastructure that's provided, the backing from the owners, and they're not where they should be.
Any hot tips for who you think will take over? Do you think they've got someone lined up? Nathan Jones, would he go there? I can't see it myself, but
I think Nathan Jones would be a better fit at somewhere like Portsmouth. I'm not sure for MK Dons, to be honest. Who are you thinking?
No idea. I have to be honest. I've not really given it much thought. I just trying to absorb the fact that Paul Tisdale's available again will probably take a lot of clubs that might be thinking about changing their manager.
Where'd our weekly manager change?
Yeah, Tisdale to Oldham. I was thinking Tisdale to Mansfield. That might be an interesting one. If John Dempster isn't given longer to continue improving. He's improving as a manager, and we'll get to that, but they lost again yesterday. So that's
Russell Martin's favourites for the MK Dons job.
Yeah, that's not for me. I think if you're trying to consolidate, you don't want to give it to a player.
He's by far the favourite.
Is that for caretaker though, or is that
any manager over 10 games?
Oh God. Well, that'll be an interesting one. I don't personally see that as a particularly positive appointment myself. You never know because he's untried, so he could be fantastic. But I think in their current position, where they've got a squad low on confidence, not got any strikers fit, not creating chances, I think is the other thing. They something like the fourth worst chances created per 90 minutes in the division. The XG data is not supportive of them scoring many goals either. It's time for a change, and maybe they need to think very carefully about who they appoint next. But like I say, the table generally doesn't lie about teams at this stage of the season. You're over a quarter of the way in. Wycombe top, 33 points, only one defeat after 16 games. Fantastic return. Ipswich second, with Peterborough, Oxford, Fleetwood and Coventry just pipping Sunderland and Blackpool, and indeed Bristol Rovers, to the playoff spots as it stands. At the bottom, Bolton on -2 points, so they're creeping ever closer to
back-to-back wins.
Yeah, back. Unbelievable. And I think they've got a few games in hand as well, so that might be important. They'd be amazing if they stayed up. My goodness me, that you've got to put DVD out and a book about it. It'd be amazing. Southend though, 22nd, MK Dons 21st, with Wimbledon, Accrington, and that Tranmere win puts them on 16 points. So it pulls them 3 points clear of MK Dons. Right, let us jump into the whirlwind of drizzle, as it probably was yesterday, of League Two.
League Two.
And Chris, where should we start? Let's start at Glousico, because Cheltenham had not lost at home since January, when they lost to Tranmere, of course. So, getting on to a year. And then Luke said to me, I know it's all going to go to that Forest Green game. We'll lose to them. I bet they're the team that do it.
Yeah, where is Luke when you need him?
Yeah, exactly. Hiding. Oh dear, under a Gloucestershire rock or something, I would imagine, after that result. Because it's 2-1, it finished 2-1 after a pretty poor first half from Cheltenham, where they went 2-0 down. Forest Green, huge credit to go there to a side like that. They're now top of the table. They've conceded just 10 goals this season in 16 games. Unbelievable number to get away from.
6 in one game.
Yeah, exactly. There's been a few sides that have conceded a hefty number of goals in a single match this season in these two divisions, and yeah, fantastic. I would imagine, without looking it up, that there's not many teams who've got anywhere near as good a defensive record in English football right now as Forest Green. Very, very impressive. Didn't quite keep a clean sheet yesterday, but all important win under the belt. Mark Cooper keeping his side going steady, not afraid to change it up, not afraid to sort of make some different choices. Elliot Freer coming back and scoring and looking like a brilliant pick-up, a really nice signing. Aitchison, Celtic have got a really good player on their hands there. He looks like he could develop into a great talent. Matty Stevens works so hard. You've got Ebu Adams in midfield.
What a game he had.
Yeah, I mean he's been excellent, and I think huge credit to how they've dealt with the loss of some key players last season, and just they seem to progress. I mean, if you look at Forest Green, the Chems kept with their manager, they progress every season, and there's an argument there that if you stick with the manager and have a strong supportive philosophy, you will get improvements year on year. And they lost in the playoff semi-finals last year, so to improve on that, really, it's a top 3 finish, and at the moment they're, it's very, very tight up there, but they're looking good for it.
I like seeing them do well, because it means every time someone makes a comment about me, doing sport and being vegetarian, I can just go, look at this.
Yeah, exactly. A team that don't even allow meat within a mile of their ground, top of the 4th tier of English football. And doing very well. Cheltenham, it's strange to see them lose at home. I mean, it's quite a shock to the system, but they will of course bounce back. They've got a very settled side there.
It's the way of derbies, isn't it? It just happens sometimes. You have a bad day at the office, and it's the day you don't want to have a bad day at the office.
Well, speaking of bad days at the office and derbies, Crewe had their worst performance according to some fans, of the season against Port Vale, and I have to say, credit goes to John Askey and his team, because they came there with a game plan. They executed it perfectly, as they did last season, where they did the double over their rivals. So it's something that they're very good at. Great crowd in there. I think 2,000 or more Port Vale fans, 2,200 or so Port Vale fans crammed in to two sides of the ground, making a great noise. The atmosphere was terrific. The football, I think, as most derbies go, is a little bit turgid, a little bit. I think both sides were quite tense actually, and Crewe didn't really play the sort of style of football that we're used to seeing. They did create some chances, and I spoke to David Artell at the end, and he thought they didn't do too bad in that department. I don't necessarily agree. I thought they had more opportunities to play that final ball or to take shots from the edge of the box than they actually did in the end. And Port Vale, once they took the lead, could have sealed it. There's a save in this game from Jaskalainen, which needs to be seen to be believed. It was absolutely brilliant. A lot of fans were saying he dropped the ball for the first goal. Seeing the replays close at hand, it hit the post and came back out. Not really as bad a mistake on his part as it looked on initial viewing in the stadium. But then Tom Pope gets free, heads the ball down, and he managed to get his hand on it and flick it onto the crossbar. Brilliant save. And then, of course, Scotty Brown makes a really good stop at the end to stop Chris Porter equalising. I think most Crewe fans would probably agree that Port Vale on that performance did deserve the points. And credit to them, because for a season in transition, for a season where they're doing a lot of different things, John Askey has got that side very solid, very well organised. David Worrell was superb. I thought their midfield was superb as well. But Crewe will need to bounce back from this, bounce back quite quickly. They will get, I think, Chris, a lot of teams coming to Gresty Road knowing that Crewe can play good football and just sitting back, sitting deep, and Crewe will have to try and work out how to break these teams down. And I think, do you think they're capable of that? I mean, we know they've got good players, but that will be a big challenge for them going forward now they've started so well.
It's the classic tactic. It's one I regularly set up our team to play in on a Wednesday afternoon. If they're a good opposition, just try and let them play their game and try and stop them playing the nice football that they want to play, sit back on them and snatch one on the break. And I think that's exactly how you've got to try and challenge Crewe. they are trying to play exciting football, but that can be difficult to do in the 4th division. You've got a lot of physical players that will shithouse a game, to put it bluntly. And so I think that will be the real test for Crewe now. Can they break down that sort of setup?
Yeah, a lot of the journalists I was speaking to were saying it was a bit similar to how the Colchester game panned out, where they had a lot of the ball and didn't quite create the openings that you'd expect them to. Shout out to Ant Evans and Tim Robinson, and Andy as well, who I met all at the ground. Really nice to meet some fans of D3D4 football, some guys who often interact with us online. So hope you are all not too downhearted. It's a long season, and a derby defeat is always difficult to take. But again,
and it puts Crewe where we predicted as well.
Yeah, well, in the playoffs, that's right. Yeah,
just do us a favour.
Yeah, appreciate that. We need a few favours to make our predictions look credible, don't we? Each season, we're not always very good at doing it. But one side that are doing probably what I think were most suggestive of at the start of the season was Bradford, a 2-0 win over Exeter, Chris, in a ill-tempered game, 3 red cards in this one, but a solid performance. Exeter coming off a 4-0 win in the Devon derby. And Bradford did very well. And I have to say, Harry Pritchard and Dylan Connolly are 2 fantastic players that have made a massive difference to the way Bradford play. They've really enjoyed having those guys in there, and they're settled, I think, now into regular use of a 4-4-2.
Bradford setting up nicely. Yeah, I think they played 4-3-3 yesterday, did they?
I probably did yesterday, knowing now I've just said that, but Harry Pritchard was back. He did his back in a recent home game, and he, to be honest, notably when he's not playing, they do miss him. Connolly as well, I think, has been an inspired signing, and obviously with the injury problems they've had, they've got Clayton Donaldson out now for quite some time after he had an operation on a broken toe. They're proving they've got some nice depth. I mean, they had Vaughan leading the line with Ishmael and Ote, who, again, Aramad Ote is a player unknown, I think, from QPR, looks very useful. A fairly settled back line with Henley, O'Connor. I mean, Mellor, of course, can play right back as well, so they've got a bit of depth there if they need it. Connor Wood's done well at left back this season. Ben Richards, Everton, I think, is one of the top defenders by his stats this season. And, of course, Richard O'Donnell's a fantastic goalkeeper. There's a lot to like about this Bradford side, Chris.
Yeah, they're a really good team. I said at the start of the season that I really liked their recruitment over the summer. I think Vaughan's a fantastic striker. It is a big blow to lose Donaldson, but I think they've got fantastic depth, as you've touched on. They set up yesterday with a 4-3-3, deviating from their 4-4-2, and I think that shows good adaptability. I think they're a big club. They're playing good football, and I think they'll stay in the top 3 for the. I think they'll be in the top 3 come the end of the season, and I think they'll be difficult to remove from that promotion spot for the rest of the season. Yeah,
I think they will be quite a difficult side to remove from that. Walsall continued their awful form with a 2-1 defeat at Owen Doyle FC. Swindon must be loving. I mean, Bradford will be looking very carefully at what they do with that loan, especially with injuries. Come January, but Owen Doyle has been fantastic. I mean,
even if he doesn't end up playing for Bradford, the fact that he's on loan at Swindon is threatening Bradford.
Yeah, indeed. He scored 14 goals this season in the division. I think we said that was twice as many as any other striker or any other player. I mean,
any other player in the league, and it's half of Swindon's goals.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. What a player he is, and he doesn't necessarily always score spectacular ones, but his just instincts and playing in a team that often get the ball into the box in dangerous areas. He's absolutely thriving.
He's the archetypal fox in the box. If the ball comes to him, sort of in that 12 yards nearest the goal, he'll score. He will not miss from that range.
Jerry Yates with 7 as well. So they've got a really good, potent attacking player with 21 goals between them in the league. So fantastic stuff for Swindon. They're in 3rd after that result, and so they had a defensive crisis a little bit earlier in the season. Dion Conroy obviously will probably miss most of the campaign, but they've done well to sort of get over that little slump and doing really nicely. Newport, a couple of poor results from their point of view. Lost to Colchester last week, and they lost to Salford at home this weekend. So disappointing couple of defeats for them. Salford will be very grateful of that mystery penalty in this one. Richie Towell.
Did he get shot or something?
Yeah, I really don't know how that was a penalty, because
the ref had a perfect view as well.
Well, wasn't he outside the box anyway?
I don't think so.
I thought on the replay I saw it was outside the box. It might just be.
You know what? I was watching the replay and I was too amazed by the fact that he just hadn't been fouled full stop to even consider whether or not it was in the box.
Yeah, no, I don't know, but I for some reason I thought it wasn't when I saw it, but it never a penalty. Poor decision. But he missed anyway, so there
the keeper was fortunate there.
He was a bit lucky, but Mark Howard's a good keeper, and they got him on emergency loan, and I think he's looked very, very good with Carl Letheren out injured, and I think Neil as well has been injured. So they've lost both their keepers, and they found a really good deputy. Cambridge, how on earth they beat Crawley yesterday, I do not know. Sam Smith, not the player I recognise from Oxford with finishes like that. He was so poor for Oxford, but maybe just finding his feet now as a player, getting used to the sort of the level he needs to be at to compete in EFL football. But Crawley, Bez Labala show, he's had 4.4 shots per game on average, which is a huge amount, most in the division. Really clinical, really important player for Crawley. They got the lead, and then they absolutely fluffed it. And you can't as a manager, a lot of criticism coming from some quarters on Gabriele Cioffi, which I think is a little bit harsh, but that's not the manager's fault. Cambridge equalising with a decent goal, and then just a complete sort of freak show of a second 3 minutes later, and they leave Cambridgeshire on a very harsh result. So, but Chris, one of the most important results probably from any manager in the division yesterday was for Steven Pressley, a 2-1 win over Macclesfield. Huge pressure on Steven Pressley. He must be a very relieved man after yesterday.
Incredibly relieved. I was watching the highlights and they looked so poor early in the game. Macclesfield, I think, took the lead, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Theo Archibald was smashing one in.
And then was there a missed penalty as well, or saved penalty?
Yeah, it was the strangest penalty as well, because it looked like Adam Collin was sort of down before the guy hit the ball, and he still hit it at him.
Yeah, yeah, come at me. I'll have to remember that one actually.
Just lie down and tell him to hit it straight at me. It was funny. It was bad penalty. Missed that. I think he probably picked his corner without deciding to have a quick look to see where the keeper was.
But all credit to Carlisle. They carried on plodding away. They came out with the win in the end. And Steven Pressley will be looking at that and hoping that they were still lacking in quality, but I think that'll do a lot for their confidence. I think it'll do a lot for the spirit in the changing room. Yeah,
and I think in Steven Skugel in midfield, they've got a technically very good player. He'll need to step up. Hallam Hope needs to raise his game as well. Missed a sitter of a header yesterday and hasn't been the same player he was last season. Need a lot more from him. And they've lost a couple of players to injury. I think Christy Elliott, I think it was an ankle problem he's got, where he had to go and get some injections and a scan on that. But he's been quite a decent right back this season for them. Sagath has been an energetic player I like as well.
And Mike Jones has shown that he can step up into that if he's needed.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I always think when you handball it in a wall, it's always a bit harsh because your hand's invariably in front of your body.
But he did lift his hand quite high.
Yeah, I think that probably as they go, this one is probably not unfair.
I think that was Stonewall.
I have seen quite a few given. I remember being at White Hart Lane for a Portsmouth v Tottenham game quite a few years back actually, because when I think of the team that Portsmouth had that day, and I think Tottenham got given a penalty for something very similar. Yet when you saw the replay, literally the guy's arm was across his chest. Harsh one that, but. Conscious of time, moving on, Mansfield lost 3-2 at home to Colchester. A Colchester side starting to play some really nice football. Obviously, they've got an easy game in the Carabao Cup at Old Trafford. And they're more than likely to meet Oxford, who have got an equally simple task of beating Manchester City. So that's a gimme semi-final between us two, I'm sure.
It is a shame that Colchester got such a small time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, they've got to be the favourites for that, given the way Manchester United are playing, probably.
Ollie's at the wheel. The car crashed 3 weeks ago, but he's still at the wheel.
He's still there. Yeah, quite. I was hoping, to be fair, I was hoping Oxford would get Man United, because I think if you look at any of the teams, they're the beatable one.
Yeah.
Oxford. Would you rather have Colchester or Man U? Definitely Man U. Yeah, they're far more beatable. But a great result for them, going and beating Mansfield. I think it's fair to say they deserved that. I think Carl Fairbrother, who talks to me about the Mansfield games on a weekly basis, said that Colchester should have had more. Penalty save from Logan. Sort of kept the score down. He made a couple of good saves. Loads of penalty saves this weekend, but another one here. And Colchester keep themselves right on the cusp of the playoffs, and they're in good form with a good squad, good depth, good manager, and loads of good stuff happening.
It's finally going right for them.
It is, yeah, and I think it just took a little while, didn't it? But they have got some good players. I really like what they've got, and Harry Pell coming back could be another big factor. He made the bench, I think, yesterday, so close to a return. Scunthorpe and Stevenage was 0-0, and that's all I have to say about that. It really was. Yeah, it was not a great game. And Chris, Oldham coming back from 2-0 down. Quickly then tell us what was... I thought you had it. I saw you 2-0 down, and I didn't bother checking again. And then I saw at final whistle it was 2-2.
Half the crowd left when it went to 2-0. That was the sort of amusing thing. That second went in, and before I get on to Oldham, what a finish that was. He was applauded by the home fans for that one.
That was a class goal, wasn't
it? Before most of them left, so applauded him as he headed. And then all of a sudden, it took 80 minutes, but we started playing football. We brought Emerson on, who's a 15-year-old lad, and his movement was superb. It was ruffling feathers, and that was giving a lot more space for Wilson to play. It's almost like...
He scored quite a few goals in your under-23s, hasn't he?
Who?
Emerson.
I think so. I think he's been quite successful at youth level.
Yeah.
Finally getting his chance in the first 11 at such a young age.
How old is he? 15?
15, and he's the second youngest player ever to play in the EFL.
That's ridiculous.
15 and 71 days or something.
That's ridiculous.
And he looks a real good player. At 15, he's quite strong for his age. I think he's still a little bit lightweight, but you can't really criticise a 15-year-old lad for that, playing men's football. He really ruffled feathers. It gave Wilson more space, and it's like I've been saying for weeks, Wilson has to play with a partner. He has to. And it showed. And then Johnny Smith got... I'm sure he meant that goal.
I liked his tweet afterwards as well, saying that thanks for the crowd for sticking with us. From what you just said, not many of them did. No, there was a fair few that left, and me and Ian were sort of chuckling a bit to ourselves at the end. You should never leave a football game early, man.
I've never done it in my life. It was...
Yeah, no, I'd say you shouldn't do it. It's something that shouldn't be done. And obviously, if people do leave, it's invariably when the goals go in. I think I've probably left one game early once, and I missed just another goal for the opposition, so I wasn't too disappointed on that one occasion. But where do you see this going now, Chris? Are you seeing improvements from the Latics?
For 80 minutes, we didn't look good enough yesterday. I think it's still the case that we're just trying to plod on, keep picking up, points here and there. 5 points from 3 games, we can't really complain too much. It's just a case of picking up some points and getting through to January, where I think there needs to be a big clear out. If we can clear them out, that's the big if.
Yeah, it'd be good to see Dino bring in a few more players that he's earmarked with experience, and I think January will be a big test for your owners as well, because they're saying they're listening to fans. They're saying that they're
saying they're good at recruitment.
They said, well, exactly. They said they're good at recruitment. They've made mistakes. They've listened to fans, and they're going to learn from them. January will be a big month to see whether they actually are all bluff or whether they've actually got some substance to those talks. Finally, new era at Morecambe. Couldn't have gone much better. A 1-0 win over Leyton Orient. Kevin Ellison and Barry Roach, the goalkeeper, making their
Kevin Guardiola
debuts. That's it, yeah. Wow, first win, and a good atmosphere there. Fans saying that they're pretty happy, and an owner on the pitch doing a sort of a speech to tell all the fans to stop being so negative. Let's
be having you.
That's the funniest thing ever in football.
Where are you?
Yeah, drunk Delia Smith. If you haven't seen this, go on YouTube and have a look at Delia Smith's famous on the pitch Norwich rant under the influence of 1 or 2 gin and tonics, I'd say.
1 or 2 bottles of wine.
Yeah, definitely. Really funny. Apparently there's a similar thing at Morecambe yesterday with their owner. Been a bit of tit for tat between Jim Bentley and the owner about this Facebook voting thing. But
oh, God, yeah.
I did see that Jim Bentley basically saying the final straw for me leaving was the fact that my owner voted in a Facebook group to sack me, which is just
I love
bizarre.
League 2 football so much.
Yeah, it's
love
just
it.
ridiculous. But again, though, like the owner said, I never did that, but it looks very much like he did. So, seeing as it's his name, his picture, and yeah, in the survey that was taken online. So, but a fantastic start. 4-3-3 they played. I think they look good when they try and get more people into attacking areas because Lewis Alessandra, Cole Stockton, John O'Sullivan, all good players. And you need to get them as high up the pitch as often as you can. They matched up the 4-3-3 played by Leyton Orient, who will be disappointed to go there and not get something. But
if Morecambe could not do too well, that'd be really good for me.
Yeah, you need someone. You need someone to do badly.
Because at the moment I'm feeling calm and content. If Morecambe start doing well, I'm going to get nervous and stressed.
Yeah, we're getting nervous. Anyone is so Kev, I'll get on to Kev and just say, look, don't do too well, mate, because my podcast co-host will have a nervous breakdown. But that is indeed a fantastic start for them. I do hope Morecambe sort of. I wish Kevin Ellison all the best. I mean, what a guy he is, and I think at his age now it'd be great to see him naturally progress into management. And
is he not nearly at pension age?
Yeah, steady on. He's not that much older than me, but I think what you probably see. I thought they were going to play themselves, but actually, fair play. They gave Halstead a chance in goal because he's a great goalkeeper, proved last season, and they changed the formation so that it suited their personnel quite well, and a very important victory closes the gap between themselves and Walsall. I mean, Walsall are on dreadful run of form. Where they go next, I think what I would say about Walsall. Walsall, 15 points, 10 defeats already from 17 this season, only 4 wins.
They lost the last 5.
Yeah.
Is it more than that?
6 in a row now.
6 in a row now.
6 defeats in a row. But what I would say to any Walsall fans, do not give up on Darryl Clark. He needs a bit of time, and I think he said very much he's been careful with his budget so that he can make the necessary changes he wants to in January. I think, quite frankly, they need some strikers who can put the ball in the net because at the moment they've proven incapable of doing that on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's always useful.
They need some creativity. I mean, the last couple of games, the best the goals that they've scored have come from the wonderful left foot set piece plays of Rory Holden, who's whipped some great, unplayable crosses into the box on 2 occasions. Both times have been scored, but obviously it's not been enough to get them the win. So, but yeah, definitely keep the faith in Darryl Clark and give him that time. But it's worrying times when you're down near the bottom of the League 2 table. Really, really difficult. But at the top end, let's have a look at that, because you've got Forest Green top, Bradford second, and Swindon third, with Crewe, Exeter, Cheltenham, and Newport making up the playoff places. Morecambe remain bottom, level on points with Stevenage, with Walsall, Scunthorpe and Oldham just above them.
Yeah, but Oldham are at the top of that list, so it's it's all right.
Yeah, 3 points keeps you. Actually. But you do have better goal difference than both Walsall. In fact, Walsall, Stevenage and Morecambe, so could be important.
Exactly.
I bet you wish you hadn't conceded all them goals at Mansfield now.
Thanks for that.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. It was great to be given such a warm welcome by all the Crewe fans yesterday. So thank you for that. And Chris, thank you for coming on as always.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, James.
We have a Patron campaign. If you would like to help support our podcast, the website, all the things we do, we'd appreciate that from as little as 80p a month. You can find the link on the website. And it'd be a great help to allow us to continue to improve everything that we're doing at the moment. But from us, yeah, hope you enjoy. Hope you enjoy November. FA Cup next weekend, so we might be having a slightly different podcast. Maybe if you'd like to start thinking about questions to send in to us, that would be a nice change from the norm. But until then, yeah, we'll see you next week. Goodbye.